Am I the asshole for grounding my daughter and canceling her senior trip after I found out she was cheating on her boyfriend? I have two daughters, Lizzie and Mackenzie. Their dad and I divorced a few years ago after I discovered he was having an affair. I have the kids most of the time, and their dad has them every weekend and during the summers. Lizzie has been dating Jacob, 18, male, for over a year now. Jacob is constantly at our house. He's a sweet, good young man, and I believe he'll be valedictorian of their class. However, a few weeks ago, I overheard Lizzie on the phone with a guy, clearly flirting. At first, I thought it was Jacob, but then I heard her say, Brandon. I realized she was talking to someone else. Then a week later, she mentioned to me that she was heading out to hang with a friend. And when I looked out the window, I saw her get into a car and greet a guy with a kiss. It wasn't Jacob. Even after that, Jacob continued to come over, hanging out with Lizzie. He and Lizzie still acted like a couple, holding hands, laughing, and spending time together, just like they always had. I felt disgusted knowing my daughter was being a two-timer. After Jacob left that day, I confronted my daughter. I asked her point blank, "Are you cheating on your boyfriend with another guy?" She said it was none of my business and that her personal life was hers only. I told her she was wrong and that I raised her better than to treat people like this. She told me she was bored with Jacob and that Brandon was more her type now. I told her that if she wasn't happy, she should just break up with Jacob. She said she didn't know if she wanted to be with Brandon or if she was just having fun flirting and teasing. I told her cheating was unacceptable and wrong, and as a consequence, I grounded her. I also told her she wasn't allowed to go on her senior trip with her friends. She obviously did not take that too well and has been at her dad's place for the last couple of days. My ex-husband called me, saying I was being unreasonable not letting her go on the trip, and that her and Jacob was just a high school thing. He then told me I needed to put my bitterness aside and stop punishing his daughter. I told him I was teaching our daughter right from wrong and that actions have consequences. Comment 1. I'd recommend explaining that since cheating broke the family, you won't under any circumstance tolerate her cheating on her BF, and emphasize the strain it puts on your relationship with her. Explain the pain you felt after finding out about the ex-husband's affair and how her BF deserves none of that just because she feels bored. You could also say that she's entitled to her own decisions, but her cheating severely disappoints and hurts you. Of course, you know your feelings better, but I tried to give a rough framework for letting her know the actual weight of her actions, heartbreak for BF, and a major problem in her relationship with her mother. Make her think about whether the momentary excitement is really worth the cost. This should work better than punishment, at least in the long run. Comment 2. I watched my father verbally and mentally abuse my mother. Was denied our father-daughter fishing morning so he could go cheat with his girlfriend. Was forced to go in long-haul truck trips with said girlfriend after my parents split. I knew from around 8-9 that cheating was bad and it hurts people. She is a senior in high school. I chose not to make my father's mistakes because I have empathy for what my mother felt. Daughter is choosing to be her father's child because I'm sure daddy spun it in a way that she thinks it's okay. Comment 3. It is this. Nobody needs to cheat. People can divorce or separate freely. To cheat is a choice or self-sabotage or an inability to maintain healthy boundaries and relationships. Mom is not just acting on pain. She is trying to raise daughter right. Daughter is with a valedictorian who clearly loves her. Is she sabotaging herself? Very clearly so. She doesn't even have to be with him, but she opts to string him along. How does that serve her in the future? reminds me of somebody in my country who left a, by all accounts, great guy who is a lawyer politician, rich, powerful, intelligent, in my country, for a dancer. She no longer lives in the country, eventually had to leave, as her ex married a very famous, beautiful actress. Daughter is making bad choices, and she is only in HS. It is no coincidence. That's her way, perhaps, to cope with what's going on. A lot of women I know who had bad relationships with their dad were promiscuous. I don't know what it is, but it seems father wounds lead to this. I think psychologically there is something there, like almost a side effect. Comment 4. This. When we were 18, my boyfriend of 2 years slept with a random girl he'd met an hour ago, which is a very normal, boring type of hurt, not invalidating anyone's pain after a similar experience. I'm just saying that it's common. Except, this guy didn't speak to his dad for over a year when they found out he was cheating on his mom. Infidelity had had a massive impact on his life, and he cared about it so much. So being cheated on by him felt way different than being cheated on by someone else. People's history and relationships with others affect their relationship with you. They have to. This whole, well, she's never done anything bad to me, grounding is okay for a while, but I think the punishment needs to be more. Now that I know you are cheating, you have two choices. Talk to Jacob and admit what you're doing, or I will have to do it for you because I cannot and will not condone cheating. You know your father's cheating led to breaking up our family. You have seen the pain it causes. But here's where Mom is going off the rails, IMO. It seems clear from the way she writes about Jacob that she, Mom, really, really, really wants Lizzie to be with him. This good, sweet, smart, probably valedictorian young man is what OP wants in a son-in-law down the road, and thus OP will be pissed if Lizzie breaks up with him, regardless of the reason. OP is more invested in Lizzie's relationship with Jacob than anyone else is, possibly even more than Jacob himself. The fact is that no, Jacob is not part of the family. He is OP's daughter's high school boyfriend. No doubt Lizzie's behavior is even more painful for OP because she feels as if Jacob is already the one and a son, in-law or otherwise. That, combined with her own trauma and pain from having a cheating husband, makes OP snap immediately to take away everything my daughter cares about because she is not living up to my relationship standards and she's going to hurt the young man I want for her. Original poster isn't an asshole Lizzie is right now. OP's ex is permanently in quote, but OP is at risk of pushing her daughter so far away that Lizzie will become very, very good at cheating and hiding because she'll be with her father and because she doesn't want to get caught by Mom, who will berate and punish and basically hate her. In Lizzie's mind, obviously, I would hope that OP never gets to that point. OP really has to let go of the Jacob is so perfect, Lizzie is lucky to have him mindset and focus a whole lot more on helping Lizzie, her actual daughter, learn from this massive yet youthful betrayal of her boyfriend. Comment 6. I'm sorry for what happened to your family. I've been cheated on, and it was horrendous. Have you and your daughters been able to speak with a therapist? I really highly recommend it. Divorce is a huge life event, and it's helpful to have professional support. Acting out in this way might be your daughter's way of coping. Grounding her might be your way of coping. Either way, I'd recommend that see a licensed mental health professional to help yourself and your daughters move forward healthily. Please don't take this the wrong way. There are a lot of misconceptions about therapy, and this is kindly meant. Something awful happened to you that was not your fault, and it can be good to have support. Comment 7. My suggestion is that you put that punishment on hold. Think about how to communicate the issue and focus on three things, acknowledging you have talked about your personal hope for her character. Your dad is a good dad, but his act. While your dad did show up, defend you at your request, it feels like having cheating diminished by someone who hurt me. I would suggest thinking of options correlated to the issue. You should talk about how you discovered the issue and was it entrusted in it, and explain the current approach isn't workable. She can break things off and you'll remain silent. She can come clean. You can inform his parents of the issue. Or you two can discuss an option other than silence to deal with your complicity. You can also acknowledge that she could keep hiding things from you and you won't find out. Emphasize she is a young adult and you're communicating with her as an equal, not a child who needs your protection. Comment 8. Let her create her mess and then wallow in it, like a pig in shit, and be there for her. And then she'll maybe be open to hearing some real-life lessons. My daughter had a great boyfriend in high school, the guy everyone likes. When she cheated on him, because she was immature and had no idea what real relationships were about, there was major fallout when everyone eventually found out. She lost her best friends, her boyfriend, and the cheat guy was some upperclassman scumbag. This was her freshman year, and she ended up changing high schools because the social impact was too hard on her. Her dad also moved within the district, so she had a choice to stay or go to the school closer to his new house. Now that's a life consequence if I've ever seen one. Needless to say, she nearly has a physical reaction if I mention cheating, even just playing around. Comment 9. I am probably older than you. Here's where I'm at. Cheating is a selfish, thoughtless thing to do to someone you ostensibly care about. However, dating is a personal journey, and your daughter is in high school. I think discussion about her bad behavior is fine. Maybe asking her how she'd feel if Jacob was seeing some other girl on the side. Perhaps even thinking about telling Jacob the truth when he next comes by. However, her bad behavior with a boy isn't something to be grounded over. You are taking out your hurt and anger at your ex out on her. That's not fair or good parenting. She's too old for that BS. If she was texting and driving, you would take her car keys because of safety. Staying out past curfew gets a phone taken. Being a bad graph fine isn't a safety issue, and if you failed as a parent and she doesn't get it, that cheating is bad, grounding her isn't going to teach her a lesson, except that you overreact and have anger management issues. Teens do stupid, selfish things. It's part of being hormonal and a young adult. Most will grow up and grow him or I will. The punishment needs to be the daughter listening to stories of people who have been cheated on, not the mom, other people, and how it affected them. It needs to be the daughter learning that cheating hurts other people. She needs that perspective. Just being punished doesn't teach her anything, other than be careful around mom, she's dangerous. Comment 11. I'm a teacher and don't have kids of my own, but I get to watch a lot of teenage drama closely because my groups are always small and I always get close to my students. I fully agree with this comment. OP could tell her daughter to tell her boyfriend about the cheating, or OP will. This is a real-life consequence. But OP is definitely transferring her own hurt into this situation, and punishing her daughter out of proportion won't heal OP's broken heart, though they're acting as if it will. My parents didn't get divorced due to cheating, but my dad did cheat on my mom on multiple occasions, including inside of our home. I've always known this. They got divorced when I was 7. When I started dating, my mom would every now and then mention how cheating is wrong and how I should never do it because if I could remember how broken-hearted she was over what my dad did, then I could not do that to another person. I'm 33 now, and I still think about that every now and then. I'd never cheat. I'd never be able to break anyone's heart like that. I think original posters' kids needed a talk like that growing up. Comment 12. She obviously sucks for cheating on her boyfriend. If she's bored of him or whatever, she should break up with him. But she needs to learn how to navigate her personal relationships from the natural consequences that come from her mistakes. When boyfriend finds out she's cheating. You shouldn't be punishing her for it, but talking to her and hoping she learns. And if she doesn't learn from you, then again, natural consequences. Her senior trip has nothing to do with her personal relationships with these guys. Comment 13. I think you could have handled it differently. The grounding is fine, but I think you should have placed a stipulation on the class trip. Tell Jacob what's going on, or the trip is canceled. That gives her a chance to make things right. For all you know, Jacob would be open to your daughter seeing someone else. They're kids after all, and are still discovering who they are and what they want. The key here is to foster open communication, both between your daughter and her lovers, and between her and yourself. Comment 14. She's 17. She has the time to learn and figure out her mistakes. You're punishing her because of what happened to you with a grown married man. Comment 15. I'm conflicted. I understand teaching her a lesson, but she is also young and immature and not ready for a serious relationship. I think canceling her trip may be considered harsh, but I get where you are coming from. Maybe have her come clean with her B5 and apologize for breaking his trust would be a route to take. It teaches her to own her mistakes and take accountability. I fear that canceling her trip would lead her to not confide in you about any obstacles she may face in the future out of fear of being punished. Tough one. At the moment, the daughter is the ag, but we all made mistakes when we were 17. Comment 16. She doesn't have the place to tell him, though. There are consequences for her actions, and they'll come. But OP shouldn't be the one to lower that hammer. X isn't helping, but he's trying to stay close to daughter. I have to wonder about the younger daughter's place in this mess. Siblings tend to have some idea what's going on, unless the one doing sees their actions as completely wrong and they're hiding it from everyone. Mother should teach, not punish. Explain that breaking up with the boy that isn't working doesn't mean she has to stay with the other either. Find her way, not lead a bunch of guys on. I cannot imagine how original poster thinks college is going to go when she's not there to manage and punish. Seriously, this has to be a conversation, not a slugfest, and the parents need to get together on raising the children, or they'll play the sides against each other. Comment 17. Yes, the asshole. Although you disagree with this is not a groundable offense in my opinion. My daughter ghosted her last boyfriend, and although I didn't like it, I knew he told her he loved her really early, and she didn't like it, and it went downhill from there. You do not know everything going on in her interpersonal relationships, and it is ridiculous to put her on restriction because you like her boyfriend. Cheating is wrong, but this is not how you drive that point home. All you're doing is making her sneakier and feeling justified in cheating. Comment 18. Yes, the asshole. You are taking your hurt out on her. You couldn't punish your husband, so you are jumping on this to use her as a proxy. She is not married to this person. While it isn't nice, it's also not anything like your husband having an affair. You need to understand and accept the difference. Sit down with her. Tell her how it hurt you when you were cheated on. Ask her how she would feel if a boy did that to her. Have the conversation. Let her grow as a person before she gets into serious adult relationships. This isn't teaching her how to better handle adult relationships. This is just punishment you wish you could have put on your husband. Comment 19. You are involving yourself in personal matters that are not yours to control or manage. She has to learn the consequences on her own, not the consequences that are delivered to her via your decisions. All you can do for her is to model kindness, compassion, and morality. These are concepts that cannot be forced down somebody's throat. She is who she is, and she will learn her own morality lessons, not when they're being forced upon her, but when she has to deal with the consequences of her own actions, without you rescuing her or controlling her. Chapter 7 and the Back Chappers. Comment 21. Yes, the asshole. You are only going to drive her to be more free to get out from under you. She is nearly an adult, and when she is 18, no one will be able to stop her. Her love life is none of your business. If you feel the need to ground her, your house, your rules. Senior trip denial is over the top for this. If you want to teach her that actions have consequences, tell her she has 24 hours to tell Jacob, or you will. That's a consequence relevant to the situation. Excellent! Our new actions tell their parents. Yes, the asshole. You are only going to drive her day. Said saying as the asshole, there's nothing wrong with kids. I'm your 17, 18-year-old's college professor. Parents, please let your kids go. They need to be able to hold themselves responsible. They all make mistakes. Let them. Are you actually teaching her what you think you are, or is she just learning that her mom is an unreasonable bidder from the divorce biatch and that she should just stay at her dad's? Don't get me wrong here. I am not in favor of what she is doing. But your punishment does nothing to teach her values or, more importantly, empathy. It teaches her nothing about how to handle boredom in relationships. She's 17. When are you going to learn how to influence behavior with an almost adult? Yes, the asshole. Comment 24. I'm sorry, but yes, the asshole. Your daughter's relationship is her business, not yours. Is what she did shitty to her boyfriend? Yes. Other than that, it truly has nothing to do with you. It sounds more like you're angry because you raised her to be better than this, and because she isn't, you're punishing her. In this case, her dad is right. It's a high school relationship, and even if it wasn't, again, it's not your place to punish her because you disagree with that she's doing. If she missed curfew, took the car without permission, or refused to do chores, then yes, ground her. Give her consequences for things like that. Punishing her for being a bitch to her boyfriend and disrespecting him and their relationship is not your place. In this, her dad is correct. When her boyfriend finds out, believe me, there will be consequences. Comment 25. Yes, the asshole. Bottom line, her relationship now and her relationships as an adult are none of your business. Real-world consequences will occur within the context of her relationships. She will experience them. Boyfriends will find out that she was cheating and let the chips fall where they may. But her senior trip and your involvement had nothing to do with that relationship. You grounding her is treating her like a child. Allowing her to experience her relationships and the consequences is what you do for a young adult. You don't get to have both. You can't mommy somebody like they are a little kid into conducting themselves like a grown adult. Comment 26. Yes, the asshole. You're taking your own experiences into account when it's her own life. Yeah, she's messing up, but canceling her senior trip and punishing her is just doing the opposite. The thing to do would have been to have a conversation with her about her choices and help her figure it out. All you did was throw her at her dad, your ex-husband who cheated on you, and you clearly have some baggage about. Separating the two is necessary, but sharing your experiences would have been much better to give her a bigger picture in the long run. Instead, her dad is in her ear with his shitty advice. With teenagers, you don't push too hard, 'cause they think they know more, and will continue to do so to prove that point. Comment 27. Yes, the asshole. And you're going to lose your daughter. Iron fist ruling over a 17-year-old is the fastest way to no longer know your 17-year-old, especially since she has the option to go to her dad's. Yes, cheating is a shitty thing to do, and she shouldn't be encouraged, but I have to Sammy agree with her dad. This is high school. It's the time where teenagers need. You've told her your thoughts? If she won't follow your advice, she might have to learn this lesson the hard way. Taking away the senior trip is a punishment that is totally unrelated to the crime. Comment 28. Yes, the asshole. You sound pissed because she's reminding you of your ex, and this seems more like virtue signaling than parenting. WTF does a senior trip have to do with her dating? I dated like a million guys when I was younger. It's how you find out what you're compatible with, value, etc. Especially as teens get older and gain experience. Should she have told him? Yes, but who's to say he's Mr. Perfect? My father got pissed and stopped speaking to me for like a decade because I treated my boyfriend like shit. Meanwhile, he controlled when I was allowed to leave my home, where I was allowed to go, who I was allowed to talk to. I find it really bizarre you're so far enmeshed in her dating life as it is. Comment 29. You know you are angry because the ex cheated on you. Punishing your daughter for her relationship mistake is not your place. How is she going to learn if you don't give her the opportunity? She'll probably never learn. She may never care. Plenty of people cheat. Is it morally right? No, but it's life. She's 17. She's not a baby. If you want to tell her boyfriend, go ahead. He won't thank you. I'm just shocked at what parents do these days and how they get so over-involved. How do you think she's going to learn to be an adult if you're punishing her when she's old enough to drive and have a job? Soon, she'll be old enough to make all her own decisions because she'll be 18. At some point, you have to say, I should step back. I've taught her as much as I can, and now she needs to learn on her own. If she wants advice, she'll ask. You've already clearly given her your advice and she doesn't care. Why do you think kids can't do anything anymore? Parents constantly step in and never let them find out anything for themselves. Do you think canceling her senior trip is going to change her behavior? It won't. Do you not remember being a teenager? She's not going to connect these in her mind. She's not going to understand or care. She's going to continue cheating on her boyfriend because she doesn't care. It's really not your place to get involved in a relationship. She's not abusing him or he's not abusing her. She's just being an asshole and inconsiderate. Those aren't crimes. They're just morally wrong. And punishing her for something totally different, it's not going to make anything better. She has to figure this out and you're not helping. You're probably making it worse. She's a teenager. She's going to rebel. For all you know, she's just going to take it out on Jacob. Yes, the asshole. Comment 30. Yes, the asshole. You went about this so very wrong. You have Don't mistake what I'm saying. Your response, however, won't teach her anything. It's not too late to fix it, though. Call your daughter, apologize for your initial reaction, and ask her to sit down for a talk with you. Then you can tell her about your experience being cheated on. Don't need to tell her it was her father unless she already knows, and the pain that caused you. Go over ways with her where she can come clean to Jacob and break it off. Encourage her to take a break from serious relationships right now. Have a true heart-to-heart with your daughter. Her senior trip has nothing to do with her cheating. The consequence is not real world, natural consequence. Therefore, it will not have a teaching effect on her. It's purely punitive. That kind of consequence will only cause a rift between you two. She will be very doubtful to go to you in the future, and trust will be gone. Comment 31. Yes, the asshole. While rules are to be followed while she's living under your roof, your actions are too harsh, and you're only doing it because her dad cheated on you. You're not teaching your daughter right from wrong. You're pissing her off, and will only push her towards what she wants. You should have had an adult conversation with her instead of treating her like a child. We're talking about you're 17 years old, not you're 14 years old. Comment 32. Unfortunately, you are the asshole. I can understand looking out for your daughter's best interest, but this high of a consequence is unacceptable, IMO. Have you ever explained to her why she doesn't have a happy family? If you don't want to raise a cheater, make her decide who to be with and watch her make that phone call explaining everything. If she refuses, then she's about old enough to live with her father. A senior trip is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Relationships come and go, especially for certain popular people with options. You don't want this to start the building of resentment. Comment 33. I'm sorry, but I think you are hugely overreacting. This could have been addressed with a conversation. Harsh punishment over this will just alienate her. Don't you remember being a teenager? I know therapy is always recommended here, but it seems like you really have a lot of resentment from being cheated on. Anyone would. But not being fully committed to a high school relationship is not the same as cheating on a spouse. You can tell her why cheating is so hurtful and even explain your past history if she doesn't know. But by taking away her trip, you will ensure that she shuts down and disregards anything you say. These are the kinds of things that kids have to learn through experience. Of course you can guide her, but I think this hit a little too close to home, and you went a bit too far. Comment 34. Yes, the asshole. It's high school. She isn't married, and taking away her senior trip, which is an important her father cheated on you and you can't let that go, is beyond fucked up. You tell her what she is doing is wrong. You don't lie for her. But you don't punish a 17-year-old girl for living her life and learning from mistakes the hard way. You picked her father. If he's the reason she thinks cheating is okay, that sucks. But you don't punish your child because you picked a bad man to be her dad in the first place. If you continue on this path, you're going to lose your relationship with your kid. I hope Jacob was worth it. Also, in retrospect, this story is probably fake because AI loves the names Jacob and Lizzie. And what parent in their right mind would be encouraging their 17-year-old daughter to be so serious with her high school boyfriend?
Yeah, on second thought, I'm thinking this is super fake.
Comment 35. Yes, the asshole. This problem is her problem, not yours. Because your relationship soured, this doesn't mean your daughter's will or has. In the bigger picture, it's her mistake to make. The trip has no relevance to her relationship's affresses. A consequence here is to ask her about Brandon and tell her what you've seen, taking things from there. Comment 36. Yes, the asshole. Her senior trip should not be dependent on her relationship status. That is between her and her partner affresses to handle. You should absolutely discuss this with her in an open and meaningful way. But denying her a once-in-a-lifetime event over something you aren't a part of is never going to be an appropriate punishment. You should at least make sure everyone involved in the situation knows what's going on for their own health and life-altering risks. Comment 37. Wow. Yes, the asshole. They are teenagers. They are dating. And the divorce has fuck all to do with this. They are not involved in marriages. Why are you supporting this awful societal norm of expecting teens to be in serious, committed relationships? And we wonder why they give up scholarships and having fun experiences for some stupid teen romance. And no, you can't just date around openly as a teenage girl. You get a rep as a slut and ruthlessly bullied. Teens shouldn't even be in committed relationships. It's ridiculous. A better approach would have been to not stick your nose in, but instead talk about how she shouldn't be getting serious about any one boy at this age, because she shouldn't. Her priority should be school and her future. Serious teen relationships are an excellent way to derail that. And the importance of asserting one's needs, for polyamory if that's what she's into, or to just date casually and not exclusively if that's where she's at, and offer examples and scripts for how to do it. Instead, you enforce this garbage notion of teens being way too serious in their relationships and girls who want more experiences. Badly, it not only broke my marriage, it about put me in a mental hospital. It should have. Instead, I spiraled out into drug addiction to self-medicate. I can't tell you how offensive I found it when people canceled my husband over it. Professionally and socially, I wanted to take out a billboard that said, "Do not use my heartbreak and personal life as a soapbox for your virtue signaling. It's just gross." People have the right to decide if they want to patronize or socialize with someone who cheats, but I personally have a huge problem with going beyond that, especially when it comes to rallying others about it. You could have just told her you expect better and thought she was better than that. But instead, you became the teenage relationship police. Sick. You've also managed to ensure your child now knows not to trust you with anything and to make sure to hide her personal life entirely. If I was her, you wouldn't know a damn thing about my romantic life again until you got a wedding invitation from me, if even then. Comment 37. She needs to learn the grass isn't always greener. She thinks Brandon's new exciting and fun, but when she blows up her relationship with the nice guy for the new guy, and then once she gets to know him, she said, she'll learn a valuable lesson. She will have to deal with the fallout and learn to navigate. And that's probably where you could step in with a lesson conversation about how it's wrong when she needs someone to talk to. I think that grounding her for it is kind of over the edge. She will already have to deal with the consequences of her choices. Comment 38. Holy crap! I can't imagine the betrayal I would have felt if one of my parents had interfered with my personal relationships like that as a teenager. This would have greatly damaged my relationship with that parent. My mom taught me that cheating was not okay, but she never physically interfered. She gave me advice and allowed me to make my own mistakes and learn from them. Sometimes I was the one that ended up in pain. Sometimes it was my boyfriend, but they were our mistakes. We were young and we were learning. But for my parent to interfere like this? At the end of the day, I knew my mom had my back, no matter what. Also, the world can be a harsh place. You can't count on everybody, but your own mother? Even if I committed murder, I always knew I could call her and she'd help me bury the body, not call the DA herself. YTA. You also seek bitter that your daters like their mom more. Just a heads up, my mom was the disciplinarian in my house, and my dad was more the fun parent, and I still adore my mom. She's my hero. Love and respect don't get thwarted by discipline. If you feel your daughters aren't close to you, but they are to their dad, there might. Comment 39. Yes, you are. She is 17. Her senior trip is one time in her life. She will forever hold it against you. Both these boys will more than likely be a memory when she grows up, but the loss of her senior trip is too much. Definitely talk to your daughter about it, though, and how she could navigate relationships better. Kids are learning relationships at this age and will make a lot of mistakes. Your daughter still needs to be rewarded for finishing school, and that is what her senior trip is about. Also, relationships change when the kids move in different directions after school. She shouldn't be punished from enjoying this last big memory with her friends. This may be the last time she sees some of them. Comment 40. Not the asshole. As the parent, it's your job to step in when your daughter bullies, steals, or otherwise does morally wrong things. If your ex won't do his job, send him a list of stupid shit teens do and ask him to put a check mark by the ones there shouldn't be a consequence for, because, as parents, you think that there should be a consequence for immoral behavior. And him not caring, well, you need to get on the same page. So, which of these things should not have any consequences? Comment 41. Yes, the asshole. This is how she navigates her emotional relationships. You speak to her and tell both of her partners and let her face the natural consequences of that. But anything outside of that is ridiculous. You can ban her from having people over, BC it's your house, and you do not condone inconsequential polygamy. However, I would think hard about that because she will cut you out of her life. Comment 42. Not the asshole. I think the more appropriate thing to do is that you tell Jacob about her and Brandon and let your daughter deal with the mess she created. Your daughter deserves to be outed for cheating, and Jacob doesn't deserve anyone protecting your daughter's secret. You have been in the shoes he is wearing. You know how it feels. Comment 43. Yes, the asshole. Who your nearly adult daughter dates is none of your business. Enacting punitive measures because you don't agree with her dating decisions is not your job. It's one thing if she's staying out all night, getting ripped on booze and whatever, and putting herself at risk. She's dating. This is how it goes in real life. You've got one more year until she's emancipated and legally an adult. How you handle your relationship now will set the tone for your relationship for many years. And be aware, your younger daughter is A, watching every single detail, and B, likely knows a lot more about your 17-year-old situation than you do. Let her decide for herself. It's a process. Encourage her to make a choice and leave it at that. Be supportive of her by listening without judgment or strong feelings. One of the most difficult. Comment 44. Yes, the asshole. She is nearly an adult. Tell her cheating is wrong and that you're disappointed in her and that you thought you raised her better. But meting out a punishment like that for a choice she is making in her own relationship is totally out of line. Actions do have consequences, and you need to let her experience the consequences of her own actions, not the ones you make up for her. Doing this won't actually teach her why cheating is wrong, which is what she really needs to be learning. Comment 45. I think that the reason people see it more as you punishing her because of what your ex-husband did is because it's her personal life. Kids make mistakes and need to learn from them. You punishing her for her relationship decisions is odd parenting. The best way for her to learn is by expressing yourself about the situation and the impact on the other person and letting her decisions blow up in her face. That's all you can do. Taking it further by adding the discipline is a bit weird, in my opinion. She's almost an adult. Her relationship is really none of your business. I mean this with the most sympathy towards you, as someone who has been cheated on and has a teenage daughter. Some parts of their life you can be disappointed about, and you can express that, but don't push her away by punishing her like this. Comment 46. Your daughter skicks for cheating, but you also skick for trying to teach her lesson that isn't yours to teach through punishment. All this is going to do is teach her how to hide things better from you and not trust you with anything in her life. Her consequences and lessons about loyalty to a partner should come from that partner and her life experiences, not losing her senior trip from mommy. Frankly, what goes on in her romantic relationships are none of your business, outside of her general safety and well-being. She's about to be an adult. I feel like this punishment has more to do with her father cheating on you than anything, and inserting your own emotions from your own experiences into a punishment is never not an asshole way to parent. Comment 47. Maybe young teens should not have all of this pressure to be in super committed relationships. They are learning how to date and navigate relationships, and maybe her cheating is just her learning more about who she is and what she likes. The appropriate punishment would be for her to own up to the boyfriend and just move on. It's good that you are there, keeping an eye on things, but at this point, it's creepy to be that involved. Just talking to her is about all you should do. Comment 48. You both have acted incorrectly here. Her in treating Jacob like trash, you in overreacting based on your own trauma. I would have sat my daughter down and explained the problem with her behavior, reminding her of how our actions can have lasting consequences for us and the people we have hurt. I would then ask her how she would feel if she found out Jacob was doing the same thing to her. Guaranteed, she would be angry at him for the same behavior she sees no problem in utilizing. Bring it full circle so she can hopefully empathize with the damage she is doing and learn from it. Then, give her a timeline to rectify it. This is a lesson she needs to learn by going through it, the good and the bad. I think taking the trip away is too much. Should she be shamed for two-timing? Absolutely. Should she learn that actions have consequences? 100%. Should she have to clean up her own mess? Yes. How else will she learn? It's our job as parents to ensure our children have a good base to enter the world, in spite of us and our issues. Accountability is absolutely still within your purview. You just have to stop and ask yourself, what is she going to learn from what I am about to levy? It is imperative to remember that perception is reality, and you must communicate to someone the way they will understand it. So, how can you communicate to her that will best get your point across and not blow the whole thing completely out of proportion? The problem you have currently is that you overshot it a bit with seemingly a knee-jerk reaction. If I were in your shoes, I would actually parlay with the dad and see if you can pull together a united front on this issue, agreeing on the punishment and executing together. I believe this to be the only way back out without completely losing your ability to help shape and support your daughter as she grows. Biggest takeaway. This is a learning experience for both of you. Her to grow into a responsible and respectful adult. You to learn how to better get your point across without having to be a hammer. Also, maybe therapy for some of the seemingly unresolved issues that may be affecting how you and your daughter treat others. Comment 49. So, I have 3 teens and a toddler. 19, 15, 13, and 3. My 3 youngest are all girls. I don't agree in this situation that she should lose her senior trip, be grounded. I think you need to sit down and have a deep conversation with her. Explain to her the consequences that can come from cheating and the hurt it will inevitably cause, not just her boyfriend, but her as well. This situation needs education, emo, not punishment. I do also think that you feel more deeply about this because of your past, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Just make sure you're not projecting the anger you have toward your ex to your daughter. I would also let her know that she either needs to end things with the boyfriend or come clean, or you will let him know. It's not fair to him to keep this up. What happens from there will be punishment for her, as well. Comment 50. Yes, the asshole. I totally am on board with you confronting her. Even if you told Brandon right in front of her that you will not be a part of deceiving her boyfriend, you will not be complicit. Those are natural consequences. Taking away her senior trip for her private life, too far. To be honest, you should be encouraging her not to settle down, to tell her boyfriend she wants to see other people and play the field. She's got her entire life to be serious with a boy. These should be the best years of her life, and she should be playing the field. She probably doesn't know how to tell him without hurting him. She's very young to be in such a serious relationship. She could probably use the guidance. But now you made it about you and your divorce, so she can't come to you and talk it through. Comment 51. As her mom, you are there to help guide her. I think a better way of handling this would have been to remove your personal trauma from the situation. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's difficult to not feel that. I get it. She's very young and still learning. Sit down and talk with her. Find out why she might be feeling this way. Rather than being the police of her personal life, I think it would be better to help her understand that she might be feeling like she wants some independence to just be free now. Nobody is the bad guy. But there's a right way to do it without hurting her boyfriend, who has been good to her, or disrespecting herself as a young woman. You got this, Mom. Don't take the trip. It's something you will regret not letting her go on later. Comment 52. Yes, absolutely. You could have spoken to her about why cheating was wrong and what it makes the other person feel like, and again, encouraged her to be upfront with Jacob. If she didn't know if she wanted Brandon but was bored with Jacob, the advice certainly should have been, break up with Jacob and don't date Brandon. All that was proper to say, advise, and speak to her about. Your ex being flippant about your being bitter isn't helpful. You could even tell her that, just so she knows, you would not pretend to Jacob that she wasn't cheating in your house, that you would never lie about that for her. However, taking away her senior trip and grounding her for matters which are hers to decide? Yeah, no, that is not teaching her morals. That's being controlling, and will ensure she won't listen to you when you do talk to her about it. Comment 53. Yes, the asshole. Let your daughter make her own mistakes. It's a teaching moment, not a crime. Be understanding and forgiving. She isn't cheating on you, and you've probably grown overly attached to Jacob. Kids need to grow up on their own in many ways, and punishing them too. Imagine if she gets pregnant and hides that from you, without ever talking to you about it. She may run away, have a dumpster baby, or worse. All because you couldn't let her be herself and grow up a little bit, and make some mistakes. Comment 54. Yes, the asshole. It's none of your business, as she aptly put it. Imagine if your mother had told you not to marry your ex. And imagine how you would have reacted. She's not married. Let her make her own mistakes, unless one of her friends is abusive. You are literally visiting the sins of your ex on your daughter. Let her be 17 and learn to manage her relationships, emotions, and consequences. Comment 55. Yes, the asshole. because the punishment is irrelevant to what she did wrong. Now she's walking away from the situation, thinking, my mom sucks. And her cheating father is validating that thought. What you should have done is talk to your daughter in a compassionate way and shared with her how much it hurts to be the person who is being cheated on. Another option would have been having your ex talk to her about it as well, depending on the circumstances. Then, you should have encouraged her to tell her boyfriend. If neither of that worked, then the appropriate punishment would have been you telling her boyfriend or telling her boyfriend's mother so she could relay the message. Comment 56. Not the asshole. A parent's job is to teach their children right from wrong, although punishment is not beneficial. Maybe if your ex-husband's mother would have taught her son to have some basic decency for humans, he wouldn't have thought cheating would have been the answer either. Many are saying, talk to her, which appears you did, and she sees no wrong with her behavior. Then why reward the behavior? My husband said don't give a dime to the trip. Okay, go on it. Have your dad fund it. And don't ask me for anything for the trip. My mother would have never allowed behavior like that, and I respect it, and grew up to believe cheating is wrong. Wild concept apparently in this thread. You're the parent and she's the child. Grounding doesn't harm your kid, and talking doesn't always work. It's a parent's job to try their best to raise decent humans. You're trying your best. I apologize that many people feel it's okay to say you're projecting your experience onto her. Even if you are, that is hurtful. And you should be able to teach your daughter that it hurts people. She's a teenager. She thinks it's okay now. Why would that ever change? Unless you teach her that. Not happy, leave. Starts with any relationship, doesn't matter the age. Do your thing, Mom. There's no handbook, and you certainly aren't harming her by helping her understand she's harming another individual and needs to take some responsibility. Tired of these entitled kids. If you want to mess around, nothing wrong with that, but don't string someone you say you're not attracted to along. Proud of you for trying to raise a kind human, the best way you can think of. Comment 57. It is unacceptable to treat people disrespectfully. If you can't be trusted to deal with things in an adult way and be respectful and kind, no, she does not have permission to go on a trip away with other people like an adult, and certainly no one else will pay for it for her. I would be telling her she has broadly two options. She can tell Jacob, or you will. You can't make her tell him, but you won't stand by while she continues to lie and treat him this way. When it comes to her telling him, she can just break up. She can tell him she was going behind his back and why. Or she can ask for latitude in their relationship, but they're in high school. If he has any sense, he'll break up with her if she tells him the truth anyway. Comment 58. Your daughter at some point stopped liking her guy, for a plethora of reasons other than boredom. It seems like you're overly invested in this relationship, and as much as you are possibly wanting to save face with him, she will do what thee wants. Children need to make mistakes and deal with them on their own. Obviously, there are consequences for grounding is one thing, but taking away a well-deserved last hurrah with close friends for something that erroneously happened to you, it should be a long talk about the rights and wrongs apt, sit in as an advisor, not a dictatorship role, of one thing that went to get hers that set roles our time, appropriate way to discipline her. You're only teaching her more ways to dislike you and destroy the relationship you have left. Please be patient with her and remember that you were a teenager once upon a time. She's allowed to have these mistakes and possibly more. Just be there for her and be a good guidance for her future. You're not quite the a-hole, but if you don't retract the senior trip ban, then you are what you poop out of. Good luck.
Thank you for watching us. Please smash the like and subscription button.